Okay, let's dive in. Picture this. A really remote farm deep in Bavaria. It's April 1922, Hinterkaifeck. And there's this just unnatural silence hanging over the place, the mails piling up, the only sound, hungry cows. Something is obviously very, very wrong.
Yeah, and that silence gets shattered, doesn't it? April 4th, neighbors, they're worried, they force their way in, and the scene they find is just horrific. 6 people, the whole Gruber family, plus their new maid, Maria Baumgartner, all brutally murdered with a mattock, like a pickaxe from their own tool shed.
But here's the part that just gives you chills, the really disturbing bit. The killer. Well, they didn't just run off. Our sources say they stayed for 3 whole days after the murders, living there, among the bodies, feeding the animals, eating their food, even lighting the stove. Neighbors saw smoke. I mean, what does that tell you? That's what we're digging into here, trying to understand this bizarre behavior and why this case is still Germany's biggest unsolved mystery.
And you have to look at what happened before. It builds. 6 months earlier, the last maid quit, said the place was haunted, heard noises in the attic. Then, just weeks before, March 1922, Andreas Gruber finds a newspaper he didn't buy. Odd. Then footprints in the snow, leading to the farm, but not away. More footsteps heard upstairs, in the attic. A house key vanishes.
And the really puzzling thing is Andreas Gruber's reaction, or lack of it. He finds all this creepy stuff, footprints, noises, a missing key, and he doesn't tell the police. Why not? What was going on there that made him keep quiet?
Well, that's central to it, isn't it? The Grubers weren't just isolated geographically. They were very isolated socially, too, kept to themselves. And they had secrets, big ones, like the documented incestuous relationship between Andreas and his own daughter, Victoria. Most people in the area seem to believe that her little boy, 2-year-old Joseph, was actually Andreas's son, too. That creates some very, very intense personal motives right there.
Okay, so you have this buildup of weird events, these dark family secrets. How did it actually happen? The murders themselves. The forensics suggest they were lured, maybe one by one, into the barn. Andreas, his wife Cecilia, Victoria, and her daughter, the 7-year-old Cecilia, struck down there.
That's right. Then the killer went into the house, killed the new maid, Maria, in her room, and finally, little Joseph, just 2 years old, in his cot.
Horrific. Just extreme brutality. Victoria and young Cecilia even showed signs of strangulation, and the detail about young Cecilia surviving for hours, pulling her own hair out. It's just heartbreaking.
And then the investigation, well, it was a disaster from the start. As soon as the bodies were found, dozens of people just swarmed the place. They were touching things, moving the bodies. Some people were apparently even making food in the kitchen.
Oh, wow. So any chance of good forensic evidence was just gone, destroyed immediately.
Pretty much. They did quickly rule out robbery, though, found a load of cash untouched in the house.
But despite, over 100 interviews across decades, no one was ever charged. The case was officially closed in 1955.
And you have to remember the time period, too. Germany in 1922, the Weimar Republic. It was chaotic. Still reeling from World War I, political violence was common. You had the Freikorps, political assassinations like Walter Rathenau happening just months later. Hyperinflation was starting to rage.
So a time of intense instability and violence, maybe making it easier for someone to commit such a crime and, just melt away.
Possibly. Which brings us to the main suspects. First, there's Lorenz Schlittenbauer, a neighbor, rumored to be little Joseph's real father. He acted suspiciously when the bodies were found. He had a key, apparently went in alone first, disturbed the scene.
Right, and didn't he say something weird years later? About the ground being frozen?
He did, suggesting maybe he knew more. But crucially, he sued people for slander when they accused him, and he won. So, suspicion, but no proof.
Then there's the other theory, almost like something from a movie. Carl Gabriel, Victoria's husband. He was reported killed in World War I, but his body was never actually found.
Exactly. So the theory goes, maybe he survived, came back years later, found out about the incest, the child, and sought revenge.
And this was fueled by stories after World War II, right?
Right.
POWs claiming some German-speaking Soviet officer confessed.
Yeah, but those stories were never really verified, often changed. Very unreliable, ultimately.
So where does that leave us?
Well, in 2007, the Police Academy at Fürstenfeldbruck took another look, a cold case review. Their conclusion was pretty definitive because of how badly the scene was contaminated right at the start and just the sheer amount of time passed. The case is probably unsolvable, period.
So the farm itself is long gone, demolished, but the questions, they just hang there, don't they? A century later. Was it the neighbor, Schlittenbauer, driven by jealousy or anger? Was it Carl Gabriel, the husband back from the dead, quote unquote? Or was it just some unknown person, a drifter maybe, emerging from that violent, broken time in Germany? The police files are closed, but Hinterkaifeck, It remains this chilling, silent mystery. Germany's most famous cold case, still asking us why.